How's it going, everyone? It's Spencer here with Spencer Stuff. Welcome to the community. I appreciate you being here. My gosh, it's been 4 months since I made my last video and I have been itching to make more content for you all. I have had a lot going on, moved into a new house. I've been working on a brand new studio, which you can kind of see in the background. I've also been working on a brand new home theater, which is the topic for this video. I am going to start with a part 1 right here of how I built out my home theater, and you're gonna have to wait until that final part to see the whole thing come together. But I think as the videos go on, you'll begin to appreciate the time and commitment it took for me specifically to get this done. I wanna use these videos as inspiration for you specifically, if you're watching this video, to feel like you can take that next step in your home theater journey and feel like you're comfortable in doing so, where you could even take what I do if you really like it and feel comfortable knowing that there's content out there to cover what you might like. So in this video, we're covering the planning stages as well as the paint choices that I made and why I did that. And I'm gonna run through the whole process with the whole thing in the background. I thank you all for watching this video and I really hope you enjoy. Thank you all so much for watching. So to begin, when you want to paint a wall, you want to make sure that the walls are perfectly cleaned off. What I did here is I used Miss Meyer's general cleaning soap as well as water, hot water specifically, to go along the walls. Now what this does is any fingerprints, any grease, any leftover residues that you might have on this wall will prevent paint from adhering to it. So taking all of this off at the beginning allows for a better adhesion of the paint. What you want to do is one clean layer and then do one water layer and you should be good. You can see here the water was actually clean to begin with and it is a white color now. I have no doubt in my mind that's a mix of grease, paint, and other things along the wall and dust as well. The next thing I looked at is any holes or damages along the wall. You can see here that I have quite a few spots where a TV mount from the previous owners of the home had. And I wanted to make sure to get any holes patched in the room before painting. So I went in with my putty knife and I basically just edged off all of the excess material that was in here from the holes to make sure that it was a much smoother and cleaner point to work with. And then after this, I went in and took a sander and smoothed it all out so that the spackling wouldn't have any issues. So after setting that edge, I take the spackle and I put it on here. And you'll notice that because these holes aren't super large, I don't want to use too much spackling. I want to make it look clean. Now, if you have larger holes, you might have to use a little bit more spackling and kind of feather it out to make it look a little bit more natural, or you might have to use multiple layers. It really just depends. In this situation, like I said, I didn't really need to do more than a little bit to make this look coherent. And then you can see on this panning shot, there were quite a few spots that I had to touch up. Now I'm going to take plastic, and basically this plastic allows me to cover up the flooring. You roll it out and you can cut it, and then you just basically unfold it like I'm doing right here so that it will cover up the carpet and you won't have any paint splatter hit your carpet. And in this project, I decided to go with the highest end Sherwin Williams Infinity series paint. I'm doing an ultra white on this wall, and the reasoning for that is because I'm going to be having gobies on my wall. So I wanted to have the purest white possible I could on this wall so that any colors would come off nicely. So you can see here, if you've never painted before, I'm doing a lot of edging. What you want to do is basically just go along the edges of your wall and get a nice first layer on there so that when you go to roll, you already have an established edge. Now you have to do this in multiple layers. So this is obviously the first layer, and what I've done is I've taken off the outlet covers, I'm going around those and along the edging. And as well as this, and I didn't do it in the video, you want to go over any of those spots that you touched up or cleaned up with spackling to begin with and put one layer of paint over there just to start off with. So from there, I continued on edging this whole wall. And these are obviously the most tedious of the tasks that you have to deal with. I will say one nice thing for me when I was doing this is I didn't have to worry about the other walls getting paint on them because I was using a darker color. So it was not a big deal if I got a little bit of splatter along the other walls. Now on this one, this is my last coat. I skipped a few. I ended up in total doing about 4 layers of white on this wall. And it provided a really nice deep white color. If white can even be deep, I would just say it was just a very clean white color. And in this situation, I really wanted to go over this multiple times to make sure that I was 100% sure that this wall did not need to be painted again. Sometimes you see people try and skimp out on paint so that they don't have to deal with, you know, paying extra money on it. But I would prefer just do it right the first time and give as many layers as you need in order to get full coverage. And one thing I will note with this paint, it says one layer guarantee on it basically. Don't follow that. Do as many layers as it takes for your eyes to appreciate the coloring and not have any issues with bleed through. So in here now I'm starting to roll, and if, like I said before, if you've never painted before, this is why you set an edge. It allows you to paint up to that edge, and it provides a nice clean area for the roller to be on. Now you can already see the color disparity and some of that blue that is still popping through in the video. You can see why the one coat guarantee is not truthful at all. If I were to use just one layer, this would look horrible. So going in, this is my second coat, and you can see the massive difference just doing a second coat does. You can't really see the blue even just going through here. So this is the end of the wall, and you can see, look at the disparity between the end and the left side there. That is massive. And like I said before, I really want to use this video to teach people that they can do this, but not to just blindly go in and do something. They need to have a little bit of direction, and if this is the direction they need, I'm happy to provide it. So now continuing on with the Infinity series, I have, as you can see, a black edge. So this is Tricorn Black, the Sherwin Williams Infinity series, and I am a big fan of this color. Tricorn Black is essentially a neutral black, so any color that hits it or any color of light that hits it will come off in the exact same way that it put on that wall. It has a high absorption rate, and I chose a satin finish for all of my paint, so there's still a gloss to it to make sure that if I wanted to clean the walls, I can. Now the reasoning for this color specifically is the neutral color palette. I don't want there to be color shift or anything along those lines for when I use my gobies, because I don't want the gobies to reflect off the wall and cause any distracting points. You can see here, this is the whole wall, and as I mentioned earlier, I went over the patches with one coat of paint. Continuing on here, this is the back wall. You can see I'm continuing the edging. Now what I do end up doing later in the video is I do cover the doors and the door frames in a black as well as the trim, and that will come in later. So the great thing about black is you don't necessarily have to put in as many layers, although it will show more imperfections. So you have to make sure that you really do put a nice deep coat on here, and you want to consistently have a wet edge of paint when it comes to black paint. Otherwise you're going to see much differences in roller marks or brush marks. So you can see in the video I really laid on this black heavy to make sure that it looked solid. And you can see here as well, you'll notice that I got a lot on the baseboard there, and that was fully intentional. I'm eventually going to paint that. And all in all, I think the black really looks great. The ceiling was already painted black when I moved in, so this really just accents that and provides a nice depth to the room. So rolling on, you can already see how great the coverage is on black versus the white. And while I definitely had to go over multiple layers, this looks a lot better on a first pass than the other. I was also dealing with a bit of an issue on my roller consistently bouncing. Like I would run along the wall and it would leave almost like a dry spot, so I had to go over things multiple times in order for it to cover properly. I was able to negate it, and frankly it didn't affect anything. The wall still looks great even after, and you can see here it looks still very even, and I maintained a wet edge consistently. But you'll notice even with it wet, look how great the absorption of the light is. And if you've watched the video, you'll notice that the ceiling lights did not color shift at all with this black, even on camera. And that is a huge feature of this paint. That is what I wanted. So going back now, I can roll the back wall. This turned out great. I love how it kind of just fades on that edge. You don't even notice. It really gets rid of boundaries in the room. And once the door and the frames are all painted black, it really adds to the depth of the room. So if you are someone who likes to paint, this is obviously a great step. I am not the most patient painter. I really just like to get it done because the fun stuff comes after, but it can be therapeutic. I always recommend throwing on some tunes, just enjoying yourself, trying to enjoy the process, because once you do this once, your hope or your intention is to not have to redo it again. And I think all in all, this whole room took me, I would say, about 6 hours to paint by myself over multiple layers. And you can see my change of outfit throughout the whole thing. It took several days for me after work coming home to just paint. It was a tedious process. But I think this turned out excellent. Now after this, I was getting crazy, stir crazy in this house. We had just moved in. So I told my dad, hey, can you help me move my TV onto the wall? I've already painted it, so what's the difference if I come in and lift this Bravia 9 up and get it on the wall? And I tell you what, it was a heavy TV. So after this, we went in, did all the mounting. We obviously here putting the mount on the wall. This is a heavy duty mount holding that 85-inch Bravia 9 on there. And I appreciate my dad for helping me on this. This is the mount itself. It is able to hold, I believe, about 200 pounds, which is awesome. There's no sagging on this mount, and we obviously mounted it directly to a stud. So yeah, if you're ever TV mounting, make sure you directly do it to a stud, and make sure that the TV is leveled off before you even try and put it on there. You can see here, we were trying to get everything flattened out and balanced. All in all, this video is running through it really quickly, but it took us almost an hour to get all of this up there. The original clip was actually about 40 minutes just for us to bring it down and get it on the wall and everything. So with this, we're getting all the cords ready. We're setting up the mount on the back and getting it attached to the Bravia nut. And then I decided, all right, let's continue painting. Now I'm going along the baseboards, painting them all black so that they match the walls. And I also painted the front ones white to match that wall. And then from there, I decided to do the doors and the trim around the doors in a nice Tricorn Black as well, so that it would match the rest of the walls. And all in all, I would say the doors were a lot of fun to do. Obviously there's a lot of cracks in there, but you can really lay the paint on in there and really get it working. It ends up looking great. Now, one of the big things and final things I must say is with latex paint, make sure that you give it plenty of time to cure. I believe it takes up to 30 days for the paint to fully cure, so don't do anything intensive on the paint until it is fully cured. I hope that this part one has given you a little bit of clarity as to my thought process and where I plan to go with my home theater. I know you're probably itching to watch the rest of it, and I promise you it will be coming in the coming weeks. It just takes some time to edit everything and get it situated. I want to show every detail of the process and explain it because I feel like, there's going to be appreciation for that outside of just me using this as a time capsule. So anyway, I hope you liked this video. I look forward to making the next part for you. And I hope you all have a great day, great evening, whatever it might be in your area, and I will see you all later. Thank you all so much for watching.